Hello and welcome to Moneylife News and Views. I'm Debashis Basu. In the last week of March, India's chief economic advisor, V Anantha Nageswaran, very frustrated manner said, the government can't solve all the social and economic problems such as unemployment. Well, that's not what the government says. It always says, I'm here to solve all your problems, including unemployment. He wondered what the government could do in the employment front short of hiring more itself. Now, he should be talking to his prime minister if that's what the stance he wants to take. As he says, in the normal world, it is the commercial sector that needs to do something, he claimed. Now, India's gross domestic product grew by 8% in the December quarter, while the unemployment rate among graduates is above 40%. But jobless growth is not a new syndrome. It has plagued every regime for the past 25 years, including the two Congress-led regimes as well. I remember former Chief Economic Advisor Shankar Acharya pointing out in column after column how even the strong growth in the mid-2000s did not lead to a commensurate rise in employment. The United Progressive Alliance at that time was led by a dream team of ministers and bureaucrats. The finest brains in the government, inside the government and outside, had formulated numerous schemes, including job guarantee schemes, but to no avail. Unemployment remains stubbornly high. The Modi government has brought in an equally large number of policies, and yet unemployment has remained sticky. When Mr. Modi was campaigning for power in 2013-14, he didn't share Mr. Anantha Nageswaran's view of what the government can do, because in his election and rallies, he often asked the youth in a rhetorical manner, "Aapko naukri chahiye ki nahi chahiye?" And with the youth roaring said, "Haan chahiye." He was the man who would deliver more than 1 crore jobs a year. In fact, in one of the earliest election speeches in Agra in November 2013, he had promised exactly that, 1 crore jobs a year to the youth if voted to power. Now, when ZTV asked him about this promise 5 years later, in January 2018, Prime Minister Narendra Modi did not answer the question directly. Instead, he pointed out that even street food vendors selling pakoras should also be included in the employment statistics. And so employment in the country is actually much lower if you include this kind of employment. The PM's creative logic drew a few laughs and also gave birth to Pakodanomics, while the PM supporters passionately argued that it actually reflects the Prime Minister's right emphasis on entrepreneurship. Question still remains. Why is it so hard for government actions to create jobs? So much so that even high economic growth under different regimes, no matter who is leading it, is not good enough to change the basic picture of unemployment. One, as Mr. Nageswaran correctly pointed out, it is the commercial sector who needs to do the hiring, but then what this automatically leads to the question, in fact, shouldn't he be asking himself, or maybe he should be asking the commercial sector, why is it not creating more jobs when things are so hunky-dory? Now, businesses don't hire for the sake of it. They hire only when they think they need more hands. Unfortunately, for netas and babus who want to see the unemployment figure going down, and also for job seekers who want more jobs, they also weigh, that is the businessmen, also weigh the advantage of hiring humans versus acquiring machines. Many aspects of manufacturing and construction are now mechanized, which is preferable for businesses because it helps them cut costs, improve efficiency, and so on. Humans, on the other hand, need skilling, care for managing, and then replacing when they quit. It is challenging and very messy, but necessary only for labor-intensive sectors like textiles and the service sector, where also mechanization has come in. If you see all those videos of warehouses of Amazon, where the number of people managing it is just for few, or even agriculture in the West, where hundreds and hundreds of hectares of farm is managed only by a few people. In fact, in the services sector, there is a shortage of skilled employees in all service businesses in India, like travel, transport, hospitality, healthcare, software development, maintenance and repair functions, design, finance, marketing, etc. Anyone with the right skills in these areas is not jobless. So can't government policies nudge businessmen to hire more? Of course they can. That leads us to the second reason for jobless growth. While PM Modi promised jobs before the 2014 election, for 6 years he did nothing to help create them. In fact, between 2014 and 2020, his initiatives were mainly social. Swachh Bharat, Jan Dhan, Digital India, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Suraksha Bima, Jivan Jyoti Bima, Atal Pension, Soil Health Card, and so many of the other schemes. The economic schemes, so to speak, which could lead to increase in jobs of this period, like Make in India, Skills India, Mudra loans, and Startup India, were a lot of sloganeering with very little impact on job creation. The coup de grace, of course, was the Tughlaqi scheme of demonetization, which destroys small businesses and jobs. No wonder India's GDP growth dipped to 5% before COVID-19, even after making a 1.5% to 2% adjustment, upward adjustment that is, by changing the method of GDP calculation, which the Modi government has done. The economy sank into a morass. A panicky government drastically cut corporate tax rates on 20th September 2019 to make businesses invest and hire. This gamble failed. Businesses refused to step up given poor demand growth. However, in the post-COVID period, something worked. GDP growth picked up and the government revenues boomed, allowing the government to launch a new set of ambitious policies. This time, it was all hands-on development projects and simultaneous initiatives in multiple directions, something that we have never seen before. Now, the government announced production-linked incentives even during COVID-19. Then came defense production and exports policy, railway modernization. In 2023-24 budget, the government allocated an unprecedented 10 lakh crore for infrastructure. Implementation is visible on the ground in the railways, defense production, road transport, urban infrastructure such as metro projects. Some of it is wasteful though, but still all this helps. Water, power, etc. These are all creating a lot of economic work as well as a lot of new jobs. It has even made destructive changes to the Indian Forest Act to remove hindrances in the path of so-called development. I'm certain that this will lead to some job growth. Does the government need to do much more? Of course. If the so-called commercial sector, in the words of Mr. Anantha Nageswaran, needs to do all the hiring, real and frictional cost of doing business, which of course, when I say frictional cost of doing business, it's a polite way of saying money spent on corruption or money spent on greasing the government to give all kinds of licenses and permits. So the cost of real and frictional cost of doing business needs to be slashed. And of course, there's another issue, which is the dumping that China is doing of a variety of products, even where India can produce these things. So these two things the government needs to do, which is reduce the cost of doing business in India and stop Chinese dumping of goods. Writing on the issue of job creation 7 years ago, I had said that the successive governments have contributed to making the lives of businessmen tougher. The Prime Minister's office can have a team whose only job would be to listen to businessmen's man ki baat for a change about the reasons for the high cost and delays involved in doing business. Common and recurring problems could be clubbed and eliminated from the root. This would require working with the states, at least the Prime Minister can start with the BJP ruled states, where they would all listen to him, or his team. The team could also monitor a few labor-intensive projects to understand the bottlenecks they face in creating employment right up to the implementation stage and recommend systemic changes. Maybe we'll see this happening more in Mr. Modi's third regime. After all, he's come a long way from wasteful publicity of social schemes to central funding of development projects. Freeing job creators from a corrupt and destructive web of policies and practices from center down to the talukas is the third and final step required. Jobs would follow to the extent possible. Beyond that, we wade into the much more difficult terrain of education and skilling, which no government can fix overnight. If you like what I said, please do share and please do subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.